Okay, here we are in chapter 3 on the fundamentals of algebra. So this is section 3.4 on combining like terms. So a term, what is that? It's a single number or variable, or it can be a product of a number, which is the coefficient, and one or more variables, which is the variable part. So the terms in an algebraic expression are separated by addition symbols. So here we have an expression. We have 3x squared plus 2xy minus 3y squared plus 41. So each one of these is a term, okay? And we have the coefficient part, which is the number out in front. And then we have the variable part, which is the part with the variables. And now this one doesn't have a variable part, so it's blank, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to list the terms and identify the coefficient part and the variable part in a table. So, like I said before, these are all the terms. Now remember, the key thing is it's separated by addition. So what happens when you have a subtraction? Well, you put a plus and then it's a negative 3y squared. And so that's how we get around having some with negatives. We put it inside of parentheses and then we know that whole term is, or that whole thing is the term. So we have a term 3x squared, no problem. A 2xy, no problem. And now we've determined that that's a negative 3y squared. That's good. And we have 41. Now, what are the coefficient parts? Well, the coefficient parts, again, are the numbers that are out front. So those are going to be the coefficients. And so that would be 3, 2, negative 3, and 41. So that looks good. Now let's change colors and let's circle the variable part. Well, that's the part that has like a letter on it. So some of them have 2, some of them have squareds, and guess what? That one doesn't even have one. And so the variable part on here, the red circle, is x squared. This one has xy. This one's y squared. And this one just has none. So we just write none, okay? And that's how we can break apart an expression and look at each individual term. So now we want to list the terms, the coefficients, and the variables on this one. So again, what are we going to do? Well, I think first, before we start, we should rewrite this as 11 plus a negative a squared plus a negative 2, should be a 2ab, and then plus a 3b squared. So now we have it separated by addition everywhere, and then we can just take the terms individually. So we have 11, a negative a squared, a negative 2ab, and a 3b squared. Again, the coefficient part's the number. Well, what's here? Well, that's an 11. What's here? Well, that's a negative 1. Remember, when you have a negative times something, that's a negative 1. It's assumed. Then we have a negative 2, and we have a 3. Again, just all those numbers. Now the variable part, well, what do we have here? Well, there's none in that one. Here we have a squared. Here we have a times b. And here we have b squared. Okay. And so that gives us how to separate some kind of an expression, doesn't matter, into the different terms. And then what we're going to be doing with this section is we're going to start looking at the terms and determining, are there any like terms that we can add together? Are they unlike terms? And so that's where we're headed, is trying to see first, what are the terms? And then we're going to move into determining if they're like or unlike terms. Okay, so I'll pause there and we'll come back with more.